to make sure we're recording this message. All right, let's go on to the next slide. This is the last quote we'll show when we get to our science here. The subject of health reform has been presented to the churches, but the light has what, church? Has not been hardly received. The selfish, health-destroying indulgences of men and women have counteracted the influence of the message that is to prepare a people for the great day of God. You hear what she's saying? The selfish, health-destroying indulgences have counteracted the influence of the message. So the message that God has given this church has lost its effectiveness because of what we're eating. Not that the message is any less valuable and powerful, it's lost its effectiveness in our minds, in our spiritual life. If the churches expect what?
Strength.
Now we expect strength, don't we?
Yes.
We need strength, don't we? If the churches expect strength, they must what? Live the truth. That means when God blesses us with a powerful message that pertains to health, that allows us to have clear minds and happy moods, that if we ignore that message, we won't have strength. And in these last days, as the world gets worse, one thing we will need more than anything is strength. And we will not have it if our diet is not under control. They must live the truth which God has given them. If the members of our churches disregard the light on this subject, they will reap the sure result of both spiritual and physical degeneracy. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a spiritual degenerate. And if we don't heed the health message that God has given this church, that's exactly what we will become, spiritual degenerates. And when I share with you what Satan has led us to do, especially in this country, in terms of diet, you're going to see that many, many individuals now have become physically degenerates, and they're not capable of having a healthy spiritual life simply because of what they're putting in their bodies. And I will share that. I'll share the science with you on that. You'll see for yourself. And by the way, everything I'm sharing with you science-wise, she said. If we had time, I'd do a comparison. But we don't have time to do all that with what she said and what modern science says. I'm just going to show you today the science. All right, so as a result of that, as a result of this spiritual and physical degeneracy, here's what she says here. And the influence of these older church members, that's us, will leaven those newly come to the faith. The Lord does not now work to bring many souls into the truth because of the church members who have never been converted and those who were once converted but have backslidden. Now this quote was given in the context of the health message. She's talking about the health message, that we have backslidden on the health message. It is having a direct effect on our spiritual condition. All right. What influence would these unconsecrated members have on new converts? Would they not make of no effect the God-given health message, which is people are to bear? She's saying God won't bring them in because he's giving us a health message, and we're not living it. And I want them to get the health message, so if I bring them in now, they won't get it. So I'm preparing a people who are going to agree to live by the health principles that I've given my people, this church, my remnant, and I will bring people in to hear that message. But if my people are not going to live that message, I'm not going to let the new folks that come in be influenced by their lack of commitment in agreement to the health message. Now, these are all the quotes I'm going to share with you now. We're going to get into some science. All right, so this is something that doesn't surprise you. I know you're very much aware that there's been an incredible rise in chronic disease. Everyone has seen that? Mm-hmm. We've seen it. Now, these are just some of the diseases. The heart disease, the cancer, diabetes, obesity. Since the 1950s, has gone up exponentially. And you could add in there Alzheimer's and dementia and all those things. Just chronic disease all around has gone up. And the question is, what has led to this rise in chronic disease? How many of you heard of chronic inflammation? Some of you have heard that. And can anyone tell me, in layman's terms, what is chronic inflammation in layman's terms? If you know, if you don't know, we'll just go on with it.
Isn't it automatic?
That's part of it. But let me just go on.
A reaction?
What'd you say?
A reaction?
Yes, it is indeed that. So let's get into it so you understand it, because we have much to cover with you today. Okay, so you know what acute inflammation is. When you're cut, when you have a cut, your body reacts to it. When you have a cut, your immune system reacts to it. You know how your skin swells up? That's your blood vessels opening up, and your immune system gets activated. And it sends these cells in there because you're cut now, it sends cells in there to repair the tissue. And then it also, the immune system takes the dead tissue, the tissue that's damaged, takes it away. And then what happens is once that's done, and your skin begins to heal, the immune system shuts off. And this is healed up. That's called acute inflammation. It's a system that God designed to heal you. It's an amazing system. If you could see all the different steps that takes place every time you get cut, a little cut, that God has designed and put in your body to fix you. That's acute inflammation. So if that's acute inflammation, what do you think chronic inflammation is? Now, with acute inflammation, your immune system is turned on, and then it turns off when it's done. But with chronic inflammation, your immune system does not turn off. And it wreaks havoc. It wreaks havoc on the body. It is like a low-grade fire within your body because the immune system is on. You can imagine that how quickly that when you're cut, your cut stops bleeding. You see how quickly your immune system reacts. It's designed to act quickly, and when it rushes in there, when you cut your skin, bacteria end up inside your bloodstream. That's why the immune system has to react so quickly to keep that bacteria from making you sick. So as soon as you cut yourself, it rushes in there, and it does its job, and then it stops. That's what it's designed to do. In there, fixed, and stop. With chronic inflammation, that doesn't happen. Your immune system stays on. And because there is no cut to fix, there's nothing to rush in, no cells, no bacteria to grab. There's nothing for it to do. So here's what it does. It begins to attack your healthy tissues, and it begins to attack your blood vessels. Now I'm going to tell you exactly what causes this. You'll see that perhaps some in this room, I guarantee you some in this room, if not many, are affected by chronic inflammation of some capacity. But I'm going to explain to you how it starts and how it's linked to this disease. I mentioned this swelling, the redness around your skin when you're cut. Imagine that happening inside your body. That's what it is. And by the way, you wouldn't even know it. You wouldn't even know it. But this is a scientific fact. This is what happens. We're going to explain everything to you. What's it caused by? We're going to go to the most common causes. It's caused by what we eat, disease, toxins that turn your immune system on. Remember, just what you have to remember is chronic inflammation is when your immune system turns on and it will not turn off. It wreaks havoc on your body. This is just a little illustration here of a cell, your vessel. You see this yellow stuff here? This is just an illustration here. But guess what that is?
Plaque.
It's plaque. You know how that forms. You know why that's formed with chronic inflammation. Okay, now that forms from chronic inflammation. Now you know what plaque can do to your heart and your brain and all that, right? Okay. Now why does chronic inflammation cause that? As I said, when your immune system turns on, it has to do something. God designed it to turn on and turn off. So because it can't fix anything, it starts attacking your body. It attacks the inside of your vessels all throughout your body. And when it attacks the inside of your vessel is designed to be slick. You know, that's how the blood and the particles go through. It's slick. It doesn't stick to anything. But when you have chronic inflammation, when the immune system begins to attack the inside of the layer of your cells, the layer inside gets sticky. It gets sticky. And when it gets sticky, the things that pass through it begin to stick to the walls. This is why you see that. Okay? When you have chronic inflammation, you will have plaque building up in your blood vessels. And what happens is, this doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. So most of the time, you will never know this is happening until that stroke, until that heart attack. And you know, when you hear people having strokes and heart attacks, you know, oh, what happened? No one ever knew. No signs, nothing. And the body was on fire, and the plaque was accumulating, and that vessel was inflamed. And that's what led to heart disease and stroke. That's inside the cell. So what causes chronic inflammation? This is what the major causes of it. We're going to go through each one of these. Processed and sugary foods. We're going to show you what processed foods are. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the point is, as an example, anything that is not in its natural form is processed. Anything in a box, in a package, is processed. Anything you read the label that has more than 5 ingredients is processed. And what's wrong with processed foods is because you're going to see the logic of this so clearly. That when you put chemicals in your body that your body doesn't want, then it's going to release toxins which turn on your immune system. You know, as I said, you know, when you have a cold, your immune system turns on, doesn't it? You have a cold, your immune system turns on. Well, when you put toxins in your body, you understand that your immune system turns on. Now, why would your immune system turn on when you have toxins in your body? Because you're putting things in your body doesn't want and have, just like a bacteria. Your immune system is designed to protect you. So, we'll talk about this in a second. Processed foods, and we'll identify so you have an idea what I'm talking about. They cause your body to inflame. They cause inflammation in your body. They turn on your immune system. And when we go through all these, you'll see that all these things will turn on your immune system. Imagine all these things working together. Imagine that. All these things turning on your immune system. You can imagine the kind of damage that's occurring. And by the way, it's silent. You have no idea it's happening. But here's the good news I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to share some bad stuff. But God has a plan, and God's plan reverses everything we're talking about right now. Everything. Doctors won't tell you that. They won't tell you that. Poor sleep. Explain why that causes chronic inflammation. We're going to talk about that. Your lifestyle, inactive lifestyle, not moving. Your bodies were made to move. Sitting around all day, especially when we have sitting jobs, you need to move. You need to take breaks and move, get up. Your muscles have to be active. We'll explain to you when we get to that particular slide why you must move and why you must ensure that your muscles have strength by doing some strength training. Why God designed that to help deal with chronic inflammation. See, all this works together. God's plan works together. Everything comes together, and it keeps chronic disease from infecting you. Belly fat. We'll talk about that. Belly fat that many of us have. It is a primary cause of chronic inflammation. See, when you have belly fat, it puts off these inflammatory chemicals. And when it puts it off, it turns your immune system on. And as I said, as you know now, that when your immune system stays on, it causes damage to your healthy organs. You notice it says visceral belly fat because it's not just the fat that you see, it's also the fat you don't see. It's the fat that surrounds your organs, your liver. You've heard of fatty liver before? Fatty liver? Okay. Talk about why that forms. The fat around your organs, the fat that you can see, the fat around your belly, the worst fat they can have. If you have belly fat, you have a form of chronic inflammation. But as I said, God's plan can reverse all that, if you're willing to follow it. If you're willing to follow it, everything, all these diseases we're talking about today that are caused by chronic inflammation are all reversible with God's plan. That's how God designed our body. Your body is very durable. God said if you do it this way, it takes care of it. It's amazing God's plan, how God's plan eliminates the most common diseases that we have to deal with. Gut imbalance. Your gut has to eat. Fiber is what your gut eats. You know that most of us don't get enough fiber. And I'll explain to you that when you don't get enough fiber, you know what happens in your intestines. That's where your bacteria is. Right? You have good bacteria and bad bacteria in your intestines. When you are feeding your gut the fiber that it wants, the good bacteria are growing. The good bacteria are responsible for your mood hormones, like your serotonin, which keeps you from getting depressed. But what happens is if you don't feed your bacteria and you're chronically inflamed, and that affects the good gut bacteria, the bad bacteria grow more than the good bacteria. You know what happens when that happens? Well, the bad bacteria, because they're so plentiful, they begin to leak outside of your intestines into your bloodstream. And guess what that does? A foreign substance now in your bloodstream, and from what you know so far, what does that do to your immune system? It turns it on. So imagine this. Imagine this stuff leaking out of you, this bacteria leaking out of your intestines constantly, which is doing what to your immune system? It's turning it on, which is leading to chronic inflammation. God has a plan for that. God's plan does not allow the bad bacteria to overcome the good bacteria. God's plan does not allow the good bacteria to be outnumbered by the bad bacteria. God's plan is very simple. If we follow it, it works. And chronic stress. Chronic stress causes inflammation. We'll talk about that some more. Let's continue on here. All right, so I showed you the chart to show the rise in chronic disease. Notice that it correlates with the rise in chronic inflammation. So this is science here. One influences the other. When you go to the doctor, they're not going to tell you, they're not going to take a chronic inflammation test. By the way, you can measure for chronic inflammation. You have to go to your doctor, you have to ask for a specific test. And it's called they know what the test is. It's called the C-reactive protein test and the ERC test. There's two things they would test for. When you have chronic inflammation, your liver puts off these markers, and they can test for that. Science. So if you want to know if you have it, you just go to your doctor and you tell them you want an inflammation test, and they can test for it. It doesn't cost much. But if you have visceral fat, belly fat, you have chronic inflammation, you don't have to go test. You have it. Because when you have that, it puts off these markers. All right, but you can ask for the test. All right, so processed foods, most of you should know what they are. They are foods that are not in their natural form, things that you put in a package. Okay, if it's not, taken straight from the ground and eaten that way, of course, I'm not saying you can't cook it or warm it, saute a little bit, but you know what I'm saying? It's not in the package. That's a processed food. Hot dogs and bacon, processed. Pastries and cookies, processed. Now the key here is realistically, it's not realistic for me to tell you not to eat any processed foods, because the chances are you're going to. What we're talking about is abuse of your body. There are people who snack all day, who have chips in their pantries, and when they come home from work, they grab the chips, processed food. Or when they're at work and the boss or somebody brings in donuts, grab some donuts. Coffee and donuts for breakfast, candy bar for lunch, a snack, a muffin for a mid-morning snack. All these things you will see are contributing factors to chronic inflammation. So these are examples of processed foods. I know you know them, you've seen them. The white flour, white bread has no nutrition. They try to tell you it's enriched, but all the grains, all the good stuff, all the fibers are taken out. It's not feeding your gut. It's making it worse. Allowing the bad bacteria to grow. So you have to minimize this stuff. Okay? So folks love the white bread, and so they're going to eat it. So if you're going to eat it, don't eat much of it, because it's not doing anything for you. The cookies, the candy, the hot dogs, the hot dogs and the bacon, all that's processed. They make that. And when you eat that, these things, it releasing these chemicals, it gets your immune system going, turns it on, and if you're eating it all day, your immune system's on all day, okay? Alcohol, fried foods, all these things, processed foods, not good, not good. You want to eat the food as close to natural as possible. That's God's plan, isn't that? Isn't that God's plan? To eat good, natural food. But see, we have, you know why they make these foods? Their food is not designed, the devil is behind this. The foods that you buy, you go to McDonald's or Taco Bell, whatever, you buy the foods in a box or a package, they're not designed to make you healthy. They make those foods to design them to make them taste good and look good. That's it. It's to cater to their taste and to their pockets. That's why the devil wants you to eat this stuff. Because the devil knows what this will do to your brain, what this will do to your body, and it will eventually lead to chronic disease. That's what he wants. He wants a bunch of spiritual degenerates. So there are people who eat this stuff, Adventists, all day. Snack on chips and sodas and candy bars all day. And we'll show you, explain to you exactly what that does to your body and how. All right, so how do processed foods cause chronic inflammation? I'm going to explain this part in detail in a few minutes, but these blood sugar spikes, very, very dangerous. Your body goes in stress mode because your sugar stays high because you're snacking on these things all day. And it's not just snacking on these things, it's what you're eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sweet things, carbs that keep your blood sugar up high causes damage, and I'll explain that to you. We'll get in a couple of slides, I'll go into detail on that. The fat imbalance, the processed oils. On the oils that we use, the seed oils like canola and vegetable oils, those are cheap oils. Those oils have what is called a low smoke point. Has anybody ever heard that term, smoke point?
Yes.
Okay, you know that the oil that has a high smoke point to cook with is avocado oil and coconut oil. Now what is the smoke point? The smoke point is the point at which the oil begins to break down into harmful chemicals. And those chemicals cause the formation, and we'll talk about this later, of free radicals, which damage your organs and can cause cancer. Don't cook with these cheap oils. Because when you cook with them, they will break down into harmful chemicals. When you eat them, you won't know. You won't feel it right away. This is chronic. It takes time to cause the damage. If you're going to cook with avocado oil. It has a very high smoke point, 500 plus degrees. It's not going to break down, and it's not going to change the taste of your food. Now, coconut oil, some folks like that, but it will change the taste a little bit, but it also has a higher smoke point. But the canola oils, the vegetable oils, if you cook with those, you're going to go past the smoke point. Those oils will break down in your food, in your stomach, and will cause your immune system to react. So if you have those in your pantry, just throw them out and buy oil that your body actually can use and doesn't damage your body. Most people don't know this. They buy those oils because they're cheap. They have no idea that those oils are harming them. They have no idea whatsoever. Avocado oil, coconut oil. I talked about the belly fat. The processed food, ultra-processed foods are heavy in the sugars and the oils that are not healthy for you, and they lead to the belly fat, which you know now causes inflammation. We're going to talk about the cell stress a little bit later. Have you ever heard of oxidative stress? Anyone? Oxidative stress. You've heard of that. So what that is, I'll just touch on it now and talk about it later. What that is your the free radicals I just mentioned that are, you always have, everyone has free radicals floating around the body. They're not good cells. They're harmful cells. But the thing about it is your body has these not antibodies. Your body has these things that counteract the free radicals. I don't know why I'm forgetting the term. It's in my slide. We'll get to it. But your body has these things that, antioxidants, I'm sorry, yes. Antioxidants that will defeat and neutralize the free radicals. It's a mechanism that God put in there. It's amazing. Anyway, I just want to mention that. We'll get to that. We'll talk about cell stress. Let's continue on. I want to get to some of this stuff. Okay, so I want you to think about this. So if your immune system is designed to deal with threats, if you are eating food that turns on your immune system, don't you think that's your body telling you that my body doesn't want this? Just think about it. If I'm eating foods that are turning on my immune system, and my immune system is designed to repair and heal me, and it's keeping on my immune system, don't you think that's your body telling you that
it's an
maybe
enemy.
you shouldn't eat that?
It's an enemy.
Yes, it's an enemy. I'm going to attack. That's what your immune system says. It sees it as a threat. So it goes into attack mode. And you'll see that your immune system will stay in attack mode. So let's talk about how poor sleep causes inflammation. When you don't sleep enough, it turns your immune system on. Now you might wonder, well, how is that? Okay, so when you don't sleep, there's this hormone. I know you've heard of cortisol. Cortisol itself is designed to be anti-inflammatory. It's designed to calm your system down. But like your immune system, it's designed to come on and come off. Come on and come off when you have stress, okay? And it's designed to keep your body from being damaged by stress, so the body releases it from your glands. But we don't sleep enough. Your cortisol is increased and it doesn't turn off. And that causes inflammation. It causes your immune system to react. And that's why poor sleep also contributes to chronic inflammation. When you don't sleep enough, it also worsens your blood sugar control. But that's very dangerous for your body. I'm going to explain to you later the cycle, how this blood sugar, when it goes up and down, how that impacts your health in your body. And you know that when you don't sleep enough, you know that it gives you have certain cravings, that you have desire actually for processed foods. It makes you want to eat these things when you don't get enough sleep. So getting enough sleep contributes to chronic inflammation, right? It's a dangerous thing. How does inactivity cause chronic inflammation? Well, when you're active, it helps maintain your blood sugar at a stable level. Inactivity increases the one thing you don't want, the visceral fat and the belly fat. You know, I mentioned this earlier. I want to go into a little more detail on it now. Your muscles, how important it is to stay active. You know, your muscles, the way God designed your body, is your muscles have an anti-inflammatory effect. So your muscles are designed to keep your body from getting inflamed. But guess what keeps them from doing that? When you are inactive, your muscles begin to lose their effect. See, God put all these mechanisms in your body to create an anti-inflammatory effect. But you'll see from the chart I showed earlier that all these things are combining to have the opposite effect. So when you are not active, your muscles are not serving the purpose of being anti-inflammatory. This is why when we talk about your lifestyle and movement, why movement is so important. Because when you get to be over 40, like us, 45, you begin to suffer from a condition, and I know some of you have heard this term called sarcopenia. You heard of that? Sarcopenia? It's muscle loss. It's muscle loss. You've heard of that. And when you get to be our age, you start losing muscle rapidly. God has a plan. God has a plan for that. When part of what accelerates that muscle loss is inactivity. If you're not using your muscle, then it's going to put off these inflammatory chemicals. Well, let me tell you what else your muscle does that's so important. Why you don't want to lose it. Because your muscle helps soak up the sugar in your blood system and prevents your sugar from getting high. And you'll see how this plays into a cycle. When you don't do any form of strength training, and when you get over 40, you have to do strength training. You know, buy some weights. You don't have to go crazy. You don't need big muscles, but you have to keep these muscles toned. You have to do that because you're losing muscle. And your muscles are important because if your muscles are active, they have an anti-inflammatory effect and they soak up some of that sugar to help stabilize your blood sugar. See, this is all part of God's plan. But if you don't follow it, it does nothing for you. Poor circulation, terrible effect on your body. The things can't get to what they need to get to. Sitting long hours. For those of you who have a sitting job, you have to get up every couple hours. Because studies show that when you sit for a long period of time, it will cut years off your life. That is a scientific fact. It cuts years off your life. So now, there's a new trend in the science world. If you ever heard of exercise snacks. Exercise snacks. So if you're sitting, every couple hours you get up, you do squats. I do them at work. Every couple hours I'll stand up, I'll do 20 squats. I'll stretch. Your muscle needs that. That keeps your muscles active. You can't just sit all day. It's not healthy. God did not design your body to sit all day. He designed your body for movement. If you're sitting all day, you're cutting years off your life. That's what you're doing. The body's designed for movement. You can't sit all day. You have to move. Constantly move. Keep that blood flowing. Keep the lymph flowing. You know, in the primitive days, you know, you had to walk places. You want something fixed, you had to use your arms and your muscles. You want to carry something one place to another, you had to, you had to use your arms. I was, this past, snow, we had this big heavy snow, and I was shoveling my driveway. I look forward to it every year, shoveling my driveway. This particular time, it took me a little more time because the snow was heavy, and I had all these layers on. And I was out there for 2 hours, because when they come do the street, they don't do about 5 to 6 feet in front of my driveway, so I actually have to go into the street, right, to shovel. And I was sweating underneath my clothes and getting a good workout in. And so the neighbor said, well, why don't you just get a snowblower, man? It'd be a lot easier. I said, I could. I could do that. But why would I do that? I need to move. I need to move. And I enjoy the exercise. But we take the easy way. This is our lifestyle. In other countries, they don't do that. They have to do things by hand. God designed you to move. He didn't design you to buy all the conveniences so you don't move. It's unhealthy. God has a plan. His plan works. Visceral fat. That's the fat around the belly, the fat behind the belly. It puts off these chemicals that turn on your immune system and cause your body to be inflamed. That's what visceral fat does. If you have belly fat, you have inflammation. Your body is in a low-grade fire. That's what's happening if you have it. But God's plan reverses all that. That's the good news. This is a good news sermon. This is not a bad news sermon. We're sharing with you the bad stuff. But God has a plan for all of this. All of it. You follow it, it works. I said before how your gut has to have fiber. You should have some fiber with every single meal. No doubt that most of us sitting in this room are not getting enough fiber. You're not feeding the gut well enough. Now, when you go to the restroom, there should be no straining. None. And if there is, the chances are fiber has something to do with that. When your gut is healthy and it's working and you have food in your fiber in your food, that good bacteria is working, the fiber is putting the food together and it's going to eliminate it, as it should. I mentioned to you that this leaky gut problem. You don't feed the fiber, the bad bacteria, they get to outnumber the good bacteria, they leak into your bloodstream, turns on your immune system stays on, chronic inflammation, and chronic disease. You see the cycle? That's the cycle. And it continues on until you decide that you're going to follow God's plan. And when you decide that, God will allow your body to reverse all of that. See, that's the beauty of it. It's God designed your body the same way He designed the plan of redemption. God says, I have no death, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. Only that He would do what? Repent, right? And once you repent, what does God do with those sins? Oh yeah, He throws them all away. Well, guess what? Once you decide to start living healthy, guess what happens to all that bad stuff, that plaque I showed you earlier? It begins to disappear, and disintegrate. This is how God designed your body. This is how He designed His plan. He had a plan for all of this chronic disease. His plan works. But this is important. You have to understand this. If we don't put the right stuff in our body, you will have this. Your gut will not function correctly. It will leak. It will leak these bacteria into your system. It will wreak havoc by putting your immune system on, and it will not turn off. Chronic stress causes inflammation by increasing cortisol. We discussed that. Keeps your immune system on. It worsens blood sugar control. It disrupts your sleep. And it affects your behavior and how you respond to food. It does all of those things, and it's not good. So here's a typical American diet. In the morning, you don't have time to eat breakfast, of course, so you grab some coffee and maybe a donut. That'll keep you going, raises your sugar. That'll keep you to about 10 o'clock. You get hungry again. So that somebody brought muffins in the office, and you grab a muffin around 10 o'clock. Oh, you're not hungry anymore. In about 2 hours, you're hungry again. You set your blood sugar high. It goes right through you. Your blood sugar's high. Guess now you want to eat. So you go to Taco Bell and you grab yourself a processed burrito. Okay? That's going to keep you a little bit, but a lot of carbs in there, so it's going to send your blood sugar high again. So you're hungry around 2, 3 o'clock again. You go grab a candy bar, maybe a soda from the machine. That'll keep it for a little bit. Blood sugar goes up again. You go home, you stop by, you pick up something for dinner. Maybe some other processed or packaged food, maybe a frozen meal. You put that in the microwave in the oven, you eat that. Blood sugar goes up again. So you see how this cycle is. Your sugar is constantly up because of what you're eating. And it's going to affect another condition. I want to get into that in a minute here. The insulin cycle problem. Now, I want to make sure you understand this part. So I mentioned this scenario I just brought you, where somebody is eating this junk in the morning and 10 o'clock and 12, all this processed food. Your insulin, your blood sugar is staying up here. It's staying up, and your insulin is staying on. So your insulin, your body doesn't want to keep insulin on. Your insulin is designed to, once you eat, it does this thing, and then it goes down. And here's how insulin works. Insulin is like a key. It's like a key. And so what it does is, when you eat, all your food is broken down into what? Sugar, glucose, right? That's the energy system. That's the element. That's how your body operates. Your body operates on glucose, right? So when you eat something, your pancreas releases the insulin. The insulin is the key. The key goes to your cell, and it says, okay, time to let the sugar in. But the cell says, you have the key. Go ahead and open and let me in. So the insulin turns the cell, opens the key, and the sugar goes into the cell. Because your body doesn't want the sugar in the bloodstream. It wants to tuck it away. But when you eat like the scenario I described, these snacks and things, these processed foods all day, your insulin is staying on. And not only at that point, does the the insulin put the sugar in the cell, but insulin is a storage hormone. It's a storage hormone. So I want you to understand this concept. When you're snacking like that all day, your insulin constantly stays on. Your body cannot burn fat and store fat at the same time. You can only do one thing at a time. So if you're snacking all day and your insulin is high, what do you think your body is doing?
Storing fat.
It's storing fat. You cannot lose weight. It's impossible if you're snacking like that all day. But here's what happens when you're doing that. Insulin is a storage hormone. So when you're snacking like that, eventually what happens is not only does sugar go into that cell, but fat also goes into the cell because insulin is staying high, your blood sugar is high. Okay, so when the fat gets in that cell, the fat interferes with the communication between that insulin and that cell. And the cell begins to resist the insulin. Have you heard of insulin resistance? Yes. Insulin resistance, that's what's happening. And guess what happens when the cell resists the insulin? It communicates with the pancreas saying we need more insulin. So the pancreas releases more insulin. And your pancreas, the insulin is trying to force the sugar into that cell. It's going back, it's getting more brothers. We need more help, brothers, because the insulin, the cells are resisting us. We need more help. So go grab more insulin to try to force that sugar into the cell. Some of the sugar is going in, the fat's going in, and guess what's happening? In the meantime, your liver, which also helps store that sugar, it's going to take some of that sugar out of your bloodstream because your body doesn't want the sugar floating around like that. It's going to take some of the sugar out, and it stores that sugar in the liver in a different form. You've heard of glycogen before? Yes. You guys heard that form? Okay. Your liver is like a storage container, but it can only store so much of that. Now, once your liver stores all the glycogen it needs for future energy, what do you think it does with the rest of that sugar in your bloodstream? Oh yes, that's right. It takes it and it stores it as fat, visceral fat, and belly fat. And what did we just say your body does when you have belly fat and visceral fat? What does it put off? Inflammatory chemicals. So you see our cycle. That further worsens insulin resistance. So at some point in time, what happens is your pancreas, because it's still trying to catch up, put the sugar in the cell and it can't do it, your pancreas can only put out so much insulin. So what do? You go to the doctor and you say, I'm not feeling well. Something's not right. They measure your sugar and find your sugar's too high. What do? Guess what you have to do now? You have to take insulin. But guess what? The doctor didn't tell you what was causing it. He didn't tell you your diet was causing it. He didn't tell you your lifestyle was causing it. He didn't tell you that because you were snacking all day, your insulin stayed high, and you caused insulin resistance, and it resulted in belly fat, visceral fat inflammation, and that's why you have insulin resistance. He didn't tell you any of that, did he? He just said take insulin. They don't know. They don't know.
Is that a condition of diabetes?
Say that again, Kenny?
Is that the diabetes 2?
Yes, that's type 2 diabetes, and it's completely reversible. If you end up with type 2 diabetes, it's related to diet, and it's reversible. And then you have to work with your doctor to get you off of that insulin. You have to ask him, tell him what you're doing, tell him what you're doing with your diet, and tell him you want to get off of that insulin. They will take you off because it's reversible, completely reversible. So the doctors won't tell you. See, by the time you get to the doctor and you're at type 2 diabetes, that's not weeks, that's months, if not years. That's years of insulin resistance. And your body just bring it down. But God's plan takes care of all that. God's plan takes care of all that. So this is the cycle, the insulin resistance, the higher insulin floating around your body. It's the liver converts that extra sugar to visceral fat, which puts off inflammatory signals, which damages your blood vessels and your organs, leads to chronic disease. You see the cycle? This is the cycle. Why are Adventists now being plagued with heart disease, kidney disease? Now some of this is inherited, so we don't want to point any fingers. Just because you have a disease, it doesn't mean it's necessarily your fault, because some things are inherited. Some people have a tendency to have some of these diseases that they have to just deal with. So this is not to say that because you have a disease, it's directly related to your diet. You could be eating pretty healthy. But understand this, for most of us, this is the reason why we have kidney disease and heart disease and nerve damage and fatty liver and stroke is directly related to our lifestyle. Not just our diet, but our lifestyle. And this is why we have type 2 diabetes. It happens not overnight, but over years. I want to mention this about free radicals. I mentioned this before. These are cancer-causing cells in your body that everyone has right now, but when you have more antioxidants than free radicals, they get neutralized. So, for example, when you eat these seed oils that you cook with, they break down into harmful chemicals that cause your body to produce cells that are dangerous, free radicals. Just to keep.
Could you mention, Pastor, hydrogenated oil, please?
Absolutely. Bad oil. Very, very bad oil. Hydrogenated oil. Very, very bad. There's some, we wish we had more time. There's so much bad, but I can spend a lot of time talking about the bad. I want to spend some time talking about the good, because if you follow God's plan, you don't have to worry about any of the stuff I just said. None of it. But you need to know, understand, so you can be convinced in your own mind what's happening inside your body. These free radicals are no good. They are enemies to your body, and these oils cause it, and inflammation causes it, and they float around and they cause cancer, and God has a plan for this, and they're produced by chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation creates free radicals. This is part of God's plan. God, see on the left, you see right here, your body produces antioxidants by itself. And then God has given us foods that create antioxidants. So not only is your body created, but these foods, I believe that's dark chocolate, that has antioxidant effects. I'm not telling you to eat it, because you don't have to eat that. There's plenty to eat that have antioxidant effect, but they do have antioxidant effects. Okay. Oxidative stress. I talked about that a little bit. This is when the free radicals, these things here, these free radicals, when they outnumber the antioxidants, then your body is in oxidative stress. Many Americans are in oxidative stress, and it's caused by chronic inflammation, and they cause cell and tissue damage, as I said before. It accelerates aging. Folks start to get little wrinkles earlier than they should. They feel a little, I'm getting old. They walk a little slower, just slowing down. It causes DNA damage and all that stuff. It's not good. Increased cancer risk is not good at all. That's why God has given us a food that has antioxidants that fight all that. You see, God's plan, you don't have to know these terms. You don't even have to understand this science. All you have to understand is, I'm going to eat and live the way God said, and He's going to take care of all that. I don't have to understand the science. I don't have to know the terms. I don't have to know any of this. All I have to know is, God gave me a plan, and I'm going to follow it, and it's going to take care of all these problems. That's all you have to know. It's very simple plan. There's likely a large portion of the United States, adults, that are at risk for oxidative stress. In other words, the free radicals, which are cancer-causing molecules, are in greater number in your body than the antioxidants. That's oxidative stress. Many Americans are in oxidative stress. People in this room could be in oxidative stress right now. But good news is coming. You can reverse all that. And God has a plan. God has a plan to reverse inflammation. He has a plan. And listen, here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this plan, but you already know the plan. So I just wanted to show you the science about what's happening in your body now, but you know the plan. You've seen the plan, because the plan is New Start. It's New Start. Nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, tempers, air, rest, trust in God. All that is very important, especially the last one. It's very important. We follow God's plan, we take care of the chronic inflammation. The problem with us is we don't want to follow God's plan. We like eating what we eat. We like it. But it is working havoc, not only to your body, but we didn't even mention this, the Alzheimer's and dementia that has increased exponentially over the last few years related to diet. God's plan deals with that. It deals with that. We follow God's plan. Nutrition. That's a big one. Natural foods. Stabilize blood sugar, support your gut. We talked about why that's important. This food is anti-inflammatory. We live in a world of sin, and there are foods that you're going to eat that bad foods, on occasion, maybe you didn't mean to, maybe you slipped, they're going to cause you to be inflamed. You don't want to eat those foods all the time. It might happen occasionally, maybe you might slip a cracker or something in a package that you shouldn't eat, but you have enough antioxidants because you're eating healthy most of the time, your body can deal with that. It's when you don't eat healthy when your body can't deal with that. Nutrition. This diet naturally will cause you to lose weight. I'm going to show you a plate, a couple minutes here, that if your plate looks like this, you're going to lose weight on this plate. You don't count calories. God's plan does not make you fat. You lose weight on God's plan. You don't have to count any calories. It improves insulin sensitivity, lowers your inflammatory markers, exercise. I mentioned to you earlier how doing cardiovascular exercise, just walking, folks, just walking. If you don't want to jog or get on a bike, just walk. It has a tremendous benefit, just walking 10 to 15 minutes. And by the way, after you eat your largest meal, you should walk 10 minutes after you eat. That is going to add years. Now, why is that? Because when you walk after you eat, we walk on Sabbath after we eat. And you may not understand the science behind it, but you'll understand it now. When you walk after you eat, your muscles are soaking up the sugar in your bloodstream. That means your body has to put out less insulin, because your body doesn't want to put out insulin. It just wants to turn on and turn off. So your insulin is not triggered as much. Less insulin because your muscles are soaking up the sugar in the bloodstream. All it takes is 10 minutes. 10 minutes of walking. That's based on science. After you eat, it begins to soak up. You want to do that within 30 minutes of eating. After that, it loses its effect. Walk, as soon as you finish eating, go down and walk. When I finish my dinner, I go downstairs, I get on the treadmill for 10 minutes. If it's cold outside, if it's warm outside, I go out there and walk outside. 10 minutes after you eat your largest meal. If you do it every meal, that's fine. All right? The exercise is extremely important. It shrinks belly fat the natural way. That's God's plan. Sun and rest. Sun helps you sleep better. It keeps you in rhythm. It creates allows your body to create vitamin D, which is essential. And many of us in the wintertime are deficient in vitamin D, and you need to take a supplement if you don't take it, especially in wintertime, unless you're getting your vitamin D. Rest lowers your cortisol, which is what you want to do. It improves recovery. And of course, you know what temperance does. Being moderate, you can eat too much of a good thing. You don't want to eat too much of anything, of course. But you also want to give your body a chance to rest. If you're snacking all day, that's going to cause problems for you. It's going to create inflammation, an inflammation-type environment. You can't eat and snack all day. Give your stomach at least 4 hours to rest. This is what's causing our problems. Air and rest is very, very important. Taking deep breaths. It supports your nervous system. It lowers your hormones level, your cortisol, keeps your mind at peace. I mentioned fiber, how you really need that. You know about the water. Your body being 60% water, your brain being 75% water. You got to drink it all day. Your body needs that. And trusting in divine power, that's extremely important. Jesus said in John 14:27, "My peace I give to you." Be serious. Because you need peace. Because in this world, it's chronic stress. And God knows that chronic stress causes chronic inflammation. So that's why Jesus gave us His word that we would be at peace if we allow Him to come into our lives. Just chronic stress alone can cause chronic inflammation. You don't need to be in chronic inflammation. You don't need to be in chronic stress. This is why we let God into our lives. Because we are able to deal with chronic stress. This is an inflamed vessel. This is on God's plan. See, that plaque is disappearing. See, it begins to disappear automatically. You don't have to go for surgery, let the doctors go in and remove the plaque. You know how they do with the heart surgery? They do that because you got to the point where it's too late. Now the artery is plugged up. So that's why they have to have surgery. It's plugged up now. The heart's suffering, so you have to go in now, and they have to put this little balloon in there. And you know what they do? They take the balloon, and all they do is they pack that plaque on the side to open up the artery. Because they can't take it out. They smash it to the side. And so it just opens up the vessel. That's what the balloon does. But in God's plan, He doesn't smash it to the side. He gets rid of it. He gets rid of it. When you start eating right, the body starts disintegrating this plaque in your body. And it starts doing it right away. That's God's plan. Isn't that a beautiful plan? We haven't followed it. So, okay, I got about 5 minutes left. All right. See this plate? That plate looks pretty good, doesn't it? That is a weight loss plate. You don't count calories. Now, here, if you're trying to lose weight, half your plate should be vegetables. Half of it. Half your plate. You know why? Because vegetables are calorie deficient and nutrient dense. And a quarter of your plate, protein. A quarter of your plate can be carbs. You have to have protein every meal. If you're not eating protein, what's happening is that's one of the reasons why you're getting hungry after you eat. Because your protein, your fiber, your fat gives you a feeling of satisfaction. It'll carry you throughout the day. It'll carry you all day. Okay? If you eat a plate like this, you will lose weight. You will lose weight. You don't need to count calories. This is a calorie deficient diet here. You will feel satisfied. You won't even know you're hungry. You won't be hungry. But you will lose weight on a diet like this. You're trying to lose weight, half your plate should be vegetables, a quarter of the protein, a quarter of complex carbs. Listen, if you really want to you want to eat right, this is God's plan. This is His plan. You don't need to count calories. Now, I got 5 minutes left. I have to share these couple things with you. We can't go into too much detail on that because we're out of time. But for those of us who are vegans, I do want to share this with you. You need to have this information. Okay. Vegans tend to be deficient in vitamin B12 and iron and omega. Listen, you're not going to get B12. You're not going to get it from the plants. You're just not going to get it. I just can't go into all of it right now. You're not going to get it. You need to take a supplement. You know, yeast, nutritional yeast, you can get some there. You know, some of the milk, plant milks are fortified with it. You're not going to get enough. Get a supplement and take a supplement. Vitamin B12 is critical to you. It's critical to your health. It is required for healthy red blood cells. Red blood cells carry oxygen. So if you're not getting enough vitamin B12, your oxygen is going to be deficient. It's going to get weakness and fatigue. It's going to affect you. Also, B12 helps in the formation of your nerves, the covering of the nerves. Okay, B12 helps form those. If you don't have adequate B12, you're going to have nerve damage, permanent nerve damage. And there are some of that studies that show that. You got to take a supplement if you're not, especially if you're a vegan. I can't go into all that right now, but I'm just telling you, you need to take a supplement. You don't need to take a lot. 250 to 500 micrograms a day. You don't have to take it every day. If you get it 2,000 micrograms a week, that's fine. It's non-negotiable. You have to have it. You're a vegan. You're not getting it from your diet. You have to supplement. Iron. And let me just say this. I'm not even going to show you the slides here because we're running out of time. Have you ever heard of heme iron and non-heme iron? You ever heard of that? Okay. All right, so heme iron is found in animal products. And when you eat heme iron, it's very absorbable. About 30% of it absorbs very well into your system. But for us that eat plant foods, we have non-heme iron, okay? And that iron is only about 2 to 20% absorbable. So you can't get enough iron, so what do? God has a plan for that. God has a plan for that. And here's God's plan. You have to combine a non-heme iron food with a food that has vitamin C. For example, bell peppers, citrus, strawberries, tomatoes, broccoli. You combine that with a food that has iron like lentils and chickpeas and tofu and spinach. The absorbability of iron increases by 3 times. This is why God's diet, you eat a variety of food. This is why Spirit policy tells us to eat a variety of food. If you eat a variety of food, you don't have an iron problem. See, God has a plan for everything, doesn't He? I'm going to mention this, and we don't have time for the rest. Omega-3. Listen, I'm just going to tell you this. It's in flax seeds, it's in walnuts, it's not enough. Take a supplement because it's critical for your brain. It's critical for your brain. Keeps your brain healthy. It allows your brain, the little synapses in your brain, they communicate with each other. The omega has something called DHA. It allows the brain to communicate with itself. When you don't have enough, your brain slows down. Okay? And this is part of the reason why you could end up with Alzheimer's and these brain diseases because you're not getting enough nutrition. DHA. So if you're a vegan, I'm a vegan, you can get an algae oil omega supplement, not the fish oil. If you eat fish, I guess you could have that, but we don't eat fish if you're vegan. So you can get the algae oil DHA. You can order that from anywhere, and you need to take a supplement. You're not going to get enough. You can eat all the walnuts and flax seeds and chia seeds and all that has it in it. It's just not enough. You'd have to eat a tremendous amount, and that's not realistic. So there's nothing wrong with taking a supplement to make sure you get all your nutrition. God would prefer you get it all in the food, but it's not realistic. And how we're living in this planet right now, and the soil being depleted the way it is. Okay, so certain things for us being vegans, okay, you have to take a supplement. So you need a vitamin B12 supplement. You need to make sure you're eating vitamin C with these iron foods like lentils and those beans. And listen, if you don't have another food to go with it, just take a vitamin C supplement with the food. That's better than not doing anything. So you can research some of this later, and then we're recording this and all that. So, but we're out of time here. But you have to have those three items. Supplement if you have to. Supplement especially on the B12 and the omega. You can get that from Amazon. Vegan omega-3. Supplement with it. Keep that brain healthy. And we're out of time here, folks. But God has a plan. And maybe at another time I'll share the rest of this. But we shared a lot about the chronic inflammation that's plaguing many of us today. We shared a lot about that. And we also shared the fact that despite that negative stuff that most Americans live off of, and many of them are in chronic inflammation, many of them have insulin resistance. It's just a matter of time before they go on insulin, that God's plan reverses all that. See, I didn't have to talk about all these different foods and what you should eat. You know what to eat. You know God's plan. You know you have to be active. You know you have to drink water. This is God's plan. And if you eat the right way, you do what God said to do, you're going to be healthy and you will not suffer from chronic inflammation. So let's decide to follow God's plan. And if you do that, you will not have chronic inflammation. You can go home today. If you have some of these things and you're doing some of these things, you can go home today and say, Lord, I'm going to change what I do. Let me just share this last part with you. When you're trying to change your behavior, you may not be able to do it all one day. It may take time. So you do it in pieces. You decide, okay, today I'm going to stop eating this today. And I'm going to go all week, I'm going to stop eating it. And then maybe the next week you decide, I'm going to start doing some strength training because I haven't been doing it. So then you add that. And then you begin to add these things till you get used to it, and then you're able to implement the whole thing. Okay? But don't try to go off and do everything at one time because it's not realistic for most of us. We fall. So you do a little bit at a time. But you got to do something. You got to do something. You can't just ignore it. Otherwise, you're going to be left with these things. And we know that if we live this way, the way the world is living, our brains are going to not function correctly. We're going to be spiritual degenerates, as she said. We're going to be physical degenerates, as she said. And who wants that? God needs a people who not only stand without guile in their mouth, but are healthy and strong to be used by Him in these last days. Amen. We are commanded to follow His plan on health. But let us commit to doing that. Let's bow our heads. Thank you, Father, Lord, for this health message you give this church. We pray, Lord, that you would give us the strength and the willpower to implement this plan into our lives. Help us, Lord, to eat right, drink the water like we're supposed to exercise like we're supposed to not sit around, Lord, to not eat all day, but to eat healthy things as you commanded, so we can have healthy minds and healthy spiritual lives. Thank you, Lord, for the blessing of your truth. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.